ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनाशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं कृष्णचैतन्यमीश्वरम्। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्ता स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यादेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्या प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। My humble obeisances to all the Vaishnavas on the call. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namah. नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. We are in Canto 2 and Chapter 2. Chapter 1, if you all remember, there was a description about the Virat Rupa and the Dharanashraya for a neophyte devotee. The Dharanashraya for a neophyte devotee is the Virat Rupa form of the Lord. But however, we learned that it was for someone who is at a neophyte level. And then after Shukadeva Goswami addressed the neophyte, he also looked at the other sages, and he, in the beginning of the second chapter, rejected Karma Kanda. Because some people think Karma Kanda is the way to perfection. So he began to reject the path of Karma Kanda, and he said you can learn to live with minimum necessities. So those verses we saw in verses 4 and 5, how Shukadev Goswami was explaining that there are certainly, when the earth is there, where is the need for beds? When you have your own arms, where is the need for pillows? Don't the tree gives charity? Have the rivers dried up? You can drink water there and so on. So he basically glorifies that everything is available in this world by the mercy of the Lord. So there is no need for us to extra endeavor to make things very luxurious and comfortable. Again, it is from the perspective of a sannyasi who's talking this, and he's telling us that everything is provided by the Lord. That is the basic understanding that we should get out of these verses. We should appreciate the fact that the Lord has provided us with everything, and human nature is such that we can adjust to any situation. So many of you must have had this experience. It is not difficult to live with basic necessities of life, but the tendency of the human being is to accumulate. Okay, so Shukdev Goswami is pointing that out. He's telling you want to become more and more comfortable. You want to go to the heavenly planets to enjoy. That is why you're doing the Karma Kanda activities. But actually, Krishna has given everything, and with bare necessities, by focusing on the Supreme Lord, one can attain perfection instead of going in this Ferris wheel up and down, rotating within this material world. So he says, give up even the endeavor for Karma Kanda. And now he begins to look at the other sages who are yogis, and they meditate on the super soul. So the Dharanashraya for an advanced yogi is the super soul in the heart. So he begins to talk about the super soul from verses 8 onwards, 8 to 12. He describes how the super soul, the form of Janardhana, lives in the heart of every living entity. He is 8 inches high. He has 4 hands carrying the club, the wheel, the shankar, the gada, and the padma. So he carries all of these in his 4 hands, and he's got a very pleasant face. His mouth expresses happiness. His eyes are like lotus petals. He wears garments that is yellowish in color. He's decked with ornaments made of gold, and all his ornaments are glowing, and so on. So he describes the entire beauty of the Lord, and he says this should be your dharana shaya. Dharana means focusing on one particular form. Okay, so that is dharana. Now he talks about dhyana. After you have fixed your dharana, you go ahead and do dhyana. What is the difference between dharana and dhyana? Dharana means overall picture of the Lord. Dhyana means meditating, limb by limb meditation. That is dhyana. So he talks about how a yogi must perform dhyana by meditating on each and every limb, and gradually he should go up to the smiling face of the Lord. And that way he becomes completely purified. But if a person has not developed this advancement, if he's not developed this taste for meditating on the super soul, the beautiful form of Vishnu, then such a person can take his inclination towards meditating on the Virat Rupa. Okay, so we saw this till verse number 14. Okay, today we have to start from verse number 17, but I'll tell you what is after 14. So from verses 15 onwards, he talks about how an advanced yogi who's had this Paramatma realization exits his body, how he gives up his body. So from verses 15 and 16, what we saw is this advanced yogi who is ready to give up his body, who has done his dharana, dhyana, all that nicely. Now he's ready to give up his body. What does he do? He should follow the preliminary stages of Ashtanga Yoga up to Pratyahara. And then he comes to a very high stage. And this stage is called as the stage of Labdho Pashanti. That is where we stopped. What is Labdho Pashanti? So basically what he does is after he goes through the preliminary steps of Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pratyahara, and so on, he begins to merge his mind, intelligence, and the self within the super soul, and he has complete cessation of material life, whereas where there is no influence of time, the modes of material nature, false ego, and so on. So that is the stage of Labdo Pashanti. That is like the highest stage. So here we see that in verse number 17. So let's start with verse number 17 for today. न यत्र कालो अनिमिषं परप्रभुः कुतो नु देवा जगतां यैशिरे न यत्र सत्त्वं रजस्तमश्च न वै विकारो न महान् प्रधानम्. Anyone would like to read the translation?
Hare Krishna Mataji. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. In the transcendental state of Labdho Pashanti, there is no supremacy of devastating time which controls even the celestial demigods who are empowered to rule over mundane creatures, and what to speak of the demigods themselves. Nor is there the mode of material goodness, nor passion, nor ignorance, nor even the false ego, nor the material causal ocean, nor the material nature.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. So at this stage of perfection, in the process of dhyana, this person, nothing is going to affect him. So the effect of the planets is not there on him. Whether the mode of goodness, passion, or ignorance that is troubling us, that is also not there on him. And he's completely in a stage where he feels he's liberated. He's very, very happy. Nothing is really going to affect him. Okay, even the effect of time is not seen on him. So let's see what Prabhupada has to say in the purport. Prabhupada says, actually, time is the all devouring strength of the Lord, right? So the devastating time that can even control demigods, uh, because even demigods, they don't live forever. Time is even controlling them. So this influence of time is that spread throughout the world. It doesn't leave a single person. It even has its effect on demigods. And what is the exact influence of time? It is exhibited by the symptoms of birth, death, old age, and disease. So, this is present everywhere in the universe. So, right from the lower planetary systems to the middle planetary systems up to the planet of Brahmaloka, time is always in effect. So ultimately, even Brahma has to die at the end of his tenure. And then what to speak of the demigods like Indra, Chandra, Vayu, Varuna, and so on. So, but however, for a person who has attained this high state, who has seen the Paramatma, who is in absorption as a yogi, looking at the Paramatma, for him, none of these effects are seen. All the troubles of material existence is not seen for such a person. There is absolutely no fear. He is in a transcendental plane. So Prabhupada also explains that in this world, we living entities, we are continuously changing our bodies. And under the modes of material nature, somehow or the other, we are forced to act in certain ways. And sometimes we are thinking, I am the Lord of everything. But then for a person who has attained the state, he is a gunatita, meaning he has transcended the modes and he's beyond the mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. And he doesn't have this conception of the false ego. He doesn't want to lord over material nature. So that is how this person who's in a very high stage of realization behaves. Hmm? And Prabhupada also talks about the analogy of the moth. This is an important analogy. Prabhupada says, we living entities, we are trying to lord over the material nature, and our lording over the material nature is like a moth flying into a blazing fire. So, if you have seen when you switch on the lights, there are different moths that get attracted to the light and they come to the glare of the light. But the same moth can also get attracted to fire, not understanding that the fire will burn him. He thinks this fire is so attractive and he comes near it, but then the blazing fire consumes him. So that is our condition in this material world because of our false ego. We want to be the independent enjoyers, but in the process of being the independent enjoyers, this world consumes us. Okay, we lose it. So we don't understand that the ultimate aim of life is to surrender unto the Supreme Lord. Krishna has emphasized this enough in the Bhagavad Gita. He says, Vasudeva Sarvamiti, Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. So such a person is very, very rare. But a person who has reached this transcendental state is actually completely not affected by any such dualities of the material world. Prabhupada also talks about the difference between a personalist and an impersonalist. He brings our attention to that. He says, for an impersonalist, the ultimate goal is generally Brahmajyoti. But for the devotees, it is Vaikuntha planets. But the happiness that the devotees feel is a million times more than the happiness that one can feel in the Brahmajyoti. So the devotee attains a spiritual body so that he can associate with the Lord in the spiritual planet. But this person who has attained the impersonal Brahma Jyoti, he just resides as a spark in the Brahma Jyoti. There is no full-fledged form of eternity, bliss, and knowledge in the formless Brahma Jyoti. And we talk about Brahmananda, but that Brahmananda is so minuscule as compared to the Ananda that is seen in the spiritual world when you have personal association of the Lord. Hmm? So, like this, Prabhupada tells us that even when you meditate whatever kind of practice one may do, one must aim for personal liberation. Therefore, he says, even Krishna also, he spoke about various subjects in the Bhagavad Gita. He spoke about Karma Yoga, he spoke about Jnana Yoga and Bhakti Yoga, etc. But then it was made very clear that only by the process of bhakti can you attain personal association of the Lord. If we want complete perfection, it is just not Paramatma realization or it is not Brahma Jyoti realization. Complete realization of God is in his Bhagavan feature. So one should desire to enter one of the spiritual planets. Okay, so that's how Prabhupada completes his purport. And this was about a person who has reached the highest stage in his sadhana through the process of Ashtanga Yoga. And this process itself is called as the Sat Chakra Yoga, but we will come to that in a minute. Okay. So now, text number 18. Text number 18 is going to talk about this yogi's realization of Brahman. He gets Brahman realization. So let's see what this Brahman realization is actually being told here. Actually, it's called Parampadam Vaishnavam Atmanantitat. Parampadam. Actually, he goes to the topmost destination. That is what is mentioned here. But the process has a mix of bhakti. So this is Bhakti Mishra Yoga. Bhakti Mishra Yoga. Yoga is more prominent, but Bhakti is there. So let's see how the verse goes. Param padam vaishnavamamananti tad yaneti negeti atad utsi shrikshava visrijya dauratmyamananya sukrada hridopaguhyaraha padam pade pade. Anyone wants to read translation?
Hare Krishna Mataji. The transcendentalists decide to avoid everything godless, or they know the supreme situation in which everything is related with the Supreme Lord Vishnu. Therefore, a pure devotee who is in the absolute harmony with the Lord does not create perplexities, but worship the lotus feet of the Lord at every moment, taking into his heart.
So basically, this person attains perfection by avoiding all sorts of godless things. He doesn't invest his mind on anything that is not related to Krishna, that anything that is godless, he doesn't want to delve in it. And he embraces the Lord's lotus feet every single minute, okay, through his meditation. So that is how he has attained this topmost position. Now, in the purport, Prabhupada talks about this Parampadam. So he says, actually, Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, he also spoke about Madhama, my abode. Madhama Paramam Mama. So he's spoken about his abode. He's told about it many, many times. And he talks about this unlimited spiritual sky where all the Vaikuntha planets are. The spiritual world, it is far, far, far beyond this material sky with its sevenfold coverings. And in the spiritual world, there is no need for the sun or the moon or electricity for illumination. Shashankona Surya, right? So there is no need for any of these to give light to the Vaikuntha planets because the Vaikuntha planets are self-illuminating and they are more brilliant than millions and millions of material suns. So the pure devotee of the Lord, they understand Krishna as he is, and they want to attain Krishna, and they consider Krishna to be his friend and his well-wisher. Okay, so such persons who have clear vision, they are the ones who attain the Vaikuntha planets, and they don't waste time in discussing this Brahman. What is Brahman? What is not Brahman? What is Maya? What is not Maya? So they are not wasting their time in word jugglery, and they are not continuously going through the path of jnana, where they have to discuss about what is Brahman and what is not. They don't concern themselves with such kind of discussions. But apart from the class of impersonalists or non-devotees, there are also classes of those who pose themselves as devotees of the Lord in the heart, but maintain the idea of salvation by becoming one with the impersonal Brahman. So basically, there are different varieties of people who are doing various kinds of sadhana. There are some people who are directly Brahmavadis. There are others, another class of impersonalists who maintain the idea of becoming one with the Brahman. Sometimes they think they themselves will become God. So, like this, they come up with their own philosophies. So, there are so many different people with different philosophies. But the topmost of all that is discussed here in this particular verse, it says it is Parampadam. The topmost realization, Brahman realization, is actually attaining the lotus feet of Vishnu. So these Vaikuntha planets are actually the residential places which are called as Parampadam. The impersonal Brahmajyoti may also be called as Parampadam. Why is it called as Parampadam? Because of the rays from the Vaikuntha planets. So it may be called as Parampadam. But the real Parampadam is actually the Vaikuntha planets itself. And we know Brahmano hi pratishtaham, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. So basically, Parampadam can mean different things. It can mean the impersonal Brahmajyoti for the Brahmavadi, or it can mean the actual spiritual planets for the devotees. So ultimately, everything is resting on Krishna. Even Brahman is also his energy. Everything is interwoven within the Lord. Okay, so everything is his energy. And however, the devotee, he sees only the Lord in the spiritual planets, and he desires to go to the spiritual planet. Okay. So this is about the realization, what one can realize through the process of Bhakti Mishra Yoga. Now we are in the verse 19 to 21 about this liberation, how they attain the liberation, and this process is called as Sat Chakra Yoga. Sat Chakra Yoga, you must have heard about this process through various mediums. Today also it's becoming very common to talk about this process. In various communities, there are many yoga forums that discuss about this process, but unfortunately, we must understand that the so-called gurus of today who are talking about the Sat Chakra Yoga process are not perfect, and they themselves do not know the process perfectly. So if anyone is inspired to take up a part of the process or do it for a trial and error purposes, they will end up in a lot of problems. We will find out how. First, we will read these verses, and then we will discuss further about the seriousness of such processes and why it is highly recommended not to even think about these processes. Prabhupada gives very strict warning, and we have also seen people around us trying to experiment some yogic processes and screwing up their bodies and their lives. So one should be very careful when we read these verses. It is only meant for information and appreciation of Srimad Bhagavatam, but it is not meant for one's own practice. If we do so, if we do it in an immature way, whether we have a guru in that process or whether we don't have a guru, all that is immaterial, because the gurus of this world, they are completely incapable of doing the Sat Chakra Yoga properly, and they have failed miserably. Their disciples have failed miserably. Their associates have failed miserably. So with that strict warning of never to even look that side, we will get started with the process that is mentioned in Bhagavatam 19 through 21. This is the exact methodology of leaving the body. इत्थं मुनिस्तु परमे व्यवस्थितो विज्ञानदृक्वीर्यसुरन्तिताश स्वप्रश्निप्यात्पादीयगुडं ततोऽनिलं स्थानेषु षष्ठो न मे जीतक्लमा. Anyone for translation? Yeah, Rupal.
Ready.
Hare Krishna Mataji. By the strength of the scientific knowledge, one should be well situated in the absolute realization and thus be able to extinguish all material desires. One should then give up the material body by blocking the air hole through which stool is evacuated with the heel of one's foot and by lifting the life air from one place to another in the six primary places.
Yeah. So when the yogi has done all this, he has attained the state of Laptho Pashanti, that is the topmost realization. He's going to go to the Brahman platform. Everything is getting ready for him. How is he actually exiting his body? How is the soul leaving the body? This is what he does. He first blocks the lower chakra, the lowest chakra. So there are different chakras in our body. Honestly, we don't have to know it. Unnecessary information can lead to a lot of damage. But we can just read this for theory's sake, okay? So, but if someone is inspiring you to try anything out, a strict no, because the gurus of today have no idea what they're teaching, okay? So now, the first process mentioned here is you have to block the air hole through which stool is evacuated with the heel of one's foot, and you start concentrating on these chakras and you try to lift the air from the lowest point to the highest point. So that is the first step that is mentioned here. Okay. So Prabhupada in the purport, he says, there are many Duratmas who claim that they themselves they claim to have realized themselves as Brahman, and still they are not able to conquer their material senses. See, the first part of this verse is first and foremost thing, you should be able to extinguish all material desires. Then only you start blocking the air hole and then you start increasing your chakra from one point to the other. The verse doesn't say you directly sit down, go find a guru, and then he tells you some process. And with all the material desires in your heart, you start trying to do this process. No. First and foremost thing is you should be completely extinguished of any sort of material desire in the heart. Only then you will become qualified to practice this process. Okay, that's what Prabhupada in the first sentence he says there are many Duratma, he calls them Duratma, who claim themselves to have realized themselves as Brahman, but still they are not able to conquer their material desires. So you have to be completely aloof from material desires. And these material desires, they are based on one's false ego, right? If our false ego is not conquered, then we should not even try such processes. So Prabhupada also talks about how in this day and time, people are so egoistic. They challenge even the strength of the Supreme Lord and they try to lord it over this material world. But however, a person who is Brahman realized, he understands that he's insignificant. He's a part and parcel of Krishna and he doesn't have any material entanglement. So now he begins the process. He decides to quit his body. So what does he do? He first plugs up the evacuating hole with the heel of his foot. Many people who have gone to who have tried many kriyas and yogas and all, they know that they have to sit in a particular posture and close the lower hole with the bottom of their heel, the leg. They just place it there and they sit in a particular position so that lower hole is closed. So that's the first step. And then slowly they start progressively moving the life air onto 6 places. It has to rise from the lowest chakra to the highest chakra. So what are these spots? From the lower part of his body, from the anus onwards, he lifts it up to the navel, to the abdomen, to the heart, chest, palate, eyebrows, and cerebral pit. This is the cerebral pit in the head. So this is a lot of physical endeavor, Prabhupada says. It's a lot of physical endeavor for spiritual perfection. But in modern days, in the age of Kali, actually, nobody is trained in this art. Prabhupada makes it very clear. Even the so-called world-famous yogi is not properly trained in this process. So concentration of the mind these days can be easily attained by chanting the holy names. Why do you need all the Satchakra yoga to raise your air and then concentrate and all that? It's not needed. That's what Prabhupada has told. This is the first step. So basically you block the hole that is there and down. Then you have to slowly raise the life air. through concentration at different points. We don't know how to do it, but people who are trained have some vague idea, but even the vague idea they have is not correct. Okay, it's dangerous actually. Next. Nabhyam sthitam hridi adhiropya tasmad udhanagatya rasitam nayin muni tato anusandhaya diya manasvi swatalumulam shanakairnayeta. Anyone wants to read translation?
Hare Krishna Mataji. Jai Shri Prabhupada. The meditative devotee should slowly push up the life air from the navel to the heart, from there to the chest, and from there to the roof of the palate. He should search out the proper places with intelligence.
So basically, there are 6 circles for the movement of the life air. These are called as chakras. So the yogi, through his meditation, he should search out to these places with his intelligence in a meditative mode. Through the process of meditation, he should search out where the chakras are. And this lower chakra is called as Swadhisthana chakra, and it has the powerhouse of the life air. So from there, we are going to push up the life air. From this, he moves it to his abdomen and navel, which is the Manipura chakra. When the upper space further is reached out in the heart, one reaches the Anahata chakra, and further up, when the life air is placed at the root of the palate, that is the tongue, lower part of the tongue, he reaches the Vishuddhi chakra. Okay, so basically he's activating his chakras. But there are many yogis who will tell, I will activate your chakra. Please don't go that side and spoil yourselves. Okay, so be careful. Next. Tasmad Brurvorantaram Munnayet Nirutta Saptayatano Anapekshaha Stitva Muhurtardamakunta Drishtair Nirbhedya Murthan Rasijet Paramgata. Anyone for translation?
Hare Krishna. Therefore, the bhakti yogi should push the life air up between the eyebrows and then, blocking the 7 outlets of the life air, he should maintain his aim for going back home, back to Godhead. If he is completely free from all desires for material enjoyment, he should then reach the cerebral hole and give up his material connections, having gone to the Supreme. So we read something like this in chapter 7 or 8, right? Closing the 9 doors or something like that.
Yes, you're right. Yeah. So this is the process is explained. It's continued here. This person who's free from material enjoyment, he has cessation of sense gratification. What he does is, for the next step for such a person is, from the air that is there in the lower part of the palate, he raises it to the spot between the eyebrows, the Agnya chakra. And then he continues to block the 7 outlets of air, which Mataji also mentioned. And with full focus, with his aim fixed on going home back to Godhead, completely free from material enjoyment, he should push the life air through the cerebral hole that is there in the skull and give up his material connections and leave this body. And he will go to the supreme abode. He will reach the Paramgataha. He will go to the topmost destination. Okay, this is the process of Sat Chakra Yoga. Now, Prabhupada, he tells us in the Bhagavad Gita 2.59, it is said that there is the sort of detachment is possible to attain when one is acquainted with the supreme association of life, param drushtva nivartate. So basically, if you want to, first step is to be freed from material attraction. If you want to get really freed from material attraction, the best process is param drushtva nivartate. What does that means? You have to develop a higher taste. What is that higher taste? You have to develop taste for hearing and chanting Krishna's names. Okay. So unless we have a higher taste, for us to do sense control is very, very difficult. The yogis, they are doing it through a mechanical process. It is actually a dangerous propaganda, Prabhupada says, because there is every chance of falling down to enjoy material world. So one should be very, very careful. It is very difficult. People think that they are liberated, they just assume that they are at a very high transcendental level, but they have a very poor fund of knowledge. They have no conception of the Supreme. They're just trying some mechanical process, and they're thinking they are going to become as good as God. So one cannot attain the Supreme like that. Prabhupada warns us again and again, one has to be very, very careful. And the verse itself says that a devotee who's doing it in the right way, who has the nice bhakti component in the yogic process, he can attain Vaikuntha. Here, Akunta Drishti is mentioned. Akunta and Vaikuntha, they convey the same import. Only one who has his aim fixed on the spiritual world and desiring the personal association of Godhead can actually give up his material connections while being in the material world. So this Param and the Paramdhama that is mentioned in several places in Bhagavad Gita is one and the same. When one goes to Paramdhama, he never returns back to the spiritual world. So the freedom from the material world is possible only if you go to the spiritual world. So a yogi who has the component of bhakti and who desires to go to the spiritual world, he can also give up his body like this. So what will happen in his case? The life air will pass through the 7 openings, which is the 2 eyes, 2 nostrils, 2 ears, and mouth. Generally, it passes through the mouth at the time of an ordinary man's death. But a yogi like this, who is mentioned in these verses, if he is able to control his life perfectly, then he releases his life air by puncturing the cerebral on the whole of the head. So the yogi therefore blocks up all the remaining 7 openings so that the life air will naturally burst forth through the cerebral hole. That is the sure sign of a great devotee leaving the material connection. So if a person is giving up his life through the process of such a yoga system, and he has followed the Satchakra process perfectly, then he will be able to give up his life by exiting the air through the cerebral passage. Otherwise, like more than 90% of the people, they give up their body with the air passing through one of the mentioned holes. Like you have 2 eyes, 2 nostrils, 2 ears, 1 mouth, and most of them pass by through the mouth. Of course, if your consciousness is not properly evolved, you can even pass through the lower channels, like through the lower holes, like the anus and so on. That is also possible. The life air can pass through any of the holes, but depending on the evolution of the consciousness, the life air passes at the if your consciousness is more evolved, there is a good chance that the life air will pass from the upper region of the body. If your consciousness is not very evolved, it will pass from the lower region of the body. If you're a great yogi who can practice Chakra Yoga, then your life air will pass through the cerebral. Okay, so this is what Prabhupada has mentioned. And having said all this, we should also remember that in the process of bhakti, none of this matters. Okay, no Macharya in our Sampradaya did Satchakra Yoga and got their life out of the cerebral hole. It's not seen like that. They just pass away like anyone else normally, but still they go to the spiritual world. Okay, yes, and 22 onwards is another subject. So, yes, Rupal Mataji, you may ask him. If you want to read or you want to ask a question, what do you
I wanted to ask question, Mataji. So, so there are many yogis who do this before they are able to release their life like this, right? Before their natural death or comes. But I wanted to know, like in I somewhere I read that in Bhakti Yoga also the chakras open from top to bottom. Is that true? Organically?
I didn't understand the question.
Like the chakras like Shat chakra, they do some hard work through the gurus, and they do this activity, or they
Oh.
master this thing. how to release the life airs through the cerebral portal here. So somewhere I read that in Bhakti Yoga, also the chakras they open from top to bottom, or my understanding is not correct.
A yogi can say 100 things. Like I have spoken to some yogis who say, "Oh, this chakra is activated for you. That chakra is activated for you. That's why you're doing like this. That's why you're like this." Whatever it may be, a bhakti yogi doesn't care a damn about it. That's all. That's the answer. Okay. For a bhakti yogi, none of this matters. So all that we are interested in is we are interested in chanting the holy names, hearing about Krishna. We don't know anything about these chakras and we don't try to open it or close it because it's all very dangerous. So whether it's naturally open or not, I don't know. Nobody knows. We are just, how does it matter if it's open or closed, right? It doesn't matter in any way for a bhakti yogi. So yeah, maybe some articles say that, but who cares? That's the answer. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, bro.
Hare Krishna Mataji, just a question about Bhishma there. Like I heard he wanted to choose a date when Uttavayana, the direction and everything. But ultimately in Bhagavatam it is said he saw Krishna's lotus feet and then he died. What
Yeah.
about that?
What's the question again?
Means did Bhishma follow the yogic process? Because I heard he has died at the time of Uttavayana with suitable time and everything. Like in Bhagavad Gita is
Yeah,
mentioned.
but he didn't sit and follow the Satchakra yoga process. Yes, he chose a appropriate time, which was his choice. But when a devotee dies, even whether he dies at an appropriate time or not, if he has done devotional service to Krishna, Krishna takes him to the spiritual world. These things don't matter. But yes, it was his choice according to time, place, and circumstance to give up the body at a time when he could control. He wanted to give it up during Uttarayana, during an auspicious time. He did it, that's all. Because he wanted to traverse in the right path. That's all. It's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and Prabhupada says in the purport of those Bhagavad Gita verses that talks about the two ways of passing, the Archiradi Marga and the Dhumadi Marga that is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita. It tells all this doesn't matter, like Rupal Mataji was mentioning about the chakras also. Actually, it doesn't matter. For a devotee, none of it matters. Same thing, this passing away methodology also doesn't matter. But if Bhishma did it, he did it. Fine, that's great. He had the capability to do it. Like some people, they have this desire. I want to give up my life during Brahma Muhurta. And I know one very nice devotee. There was a book written about her also. She was almost like Bhishma Dev. She wanted to give up her body on one particular because she had a feeling that she's going to give up her body. She wanted to give up her body during Brahma Muhurta on one of the days in the presence of her spiritual master, and somehow she did it, right? So, but whether she gave up her body at that time or at a different time, anyhow should have gone home back to Godhead. That is the point. Okay, Prabhu?
Yes, Mataji, thank you so much.
But yes, we all have certain expectations and desires. Okay, I want to give up my body at this time, right? That's great. That's all. Okay. Yadi प्रयास्यन् नृपपारमेष्ट्यं वैहायसानामुत्तयद्विहारम् अष्टाधिपत्यं गुणसन्निवाये सहैव गच्छेन् मनसेन्द्रियैश्च. Anyone would like to read translation, please?
Hare Krishna. However, O king, if a yogi maintains a desire for import material enjoyments, like transfers to the topmost planets, Brahmaloka, or the achievements of the Eightfold Perfections, travel in outer space with the Vaibhav Vyasas or in situations in none of the millions of planets, then he has to take away with him the materially molded mind and senses.
Yeah. So basically, this is called as karma. So if a person has still attachment to joy, what happens is he gradually goes to the top of Brahmaloka or he achieves the eightfold mystic perfections. and he gradually goes to higher planetary systems. He enjoys there, and with his all his siddhis that he has acquired, and then finally, if it is time for him to leave this material universe, he can leave this material universe. At the point, it is a very gradual evolution process. This is called as karma mukti or gradual evolution. So let's see how Prabhupada explains karma mukti or gradual evolution for a person who still has a lot of attachments. Okay. So Prabhupada says, in the upper status of the planetary system, there are so many different facilities, and thousands of times facilities are greater than what is seen on Earth in the lower planetary systems. So in the upper planetary system, like Brahmaloka or Dhruvaloka or Maharloka, the inhabitants, they naturally have the eightfold mystic perfection. And they have all the eightfold Mahasiddhis, Ashtamahasiddhis, like Anima Siddhi, which is becoming very, very small. They have Laghima Siddhi, which is becoming softer than a feather. And they don't get anything, and they can get anything and everything anywhere they want. That is called as Prapti Siddhi. They can become heavier than the heavy. That is called as Mahima Siddhi. They can act freely to create something wonderful or annihilate anything at will. Ishitva Siddhi, able to control all material elements, that is called as Vashitva Siddhi, and they can possess such power and never be frustrated by any desire, called as Prakamya Siddhi, or assume the shape or form or even whimsically desire something, which is Kama Vasayita Siddhi. So like this, there are 8 different siddhis, and the people in the higher planetary systems automatically have these different siddhis. If someone is there here in this world on earth and he's a great yogi, by practice or by accumulation of some merit from the previous birth, he is able to display 1 or 2 siddhis. Okay, like he can just create something from thin air. He can bring some vibhuti in his hand, or he can create a particle of gold, or he can manifest a linga through his whatever. All these are called as siddhis. And the person on earth, maybe he has 1 or 2 siddhis, that too after a lot of practice of the yogic perfection, or because of a blessing from a previous life or whatever. But none of this can make a person God. One should be very, very clear about this. He can never become God just because he has 1 siddhi. But however, the people in the higher planetary systems, they have all of these siddhis in full, and they do not need any mechanical help to travel around the world. There was one Prabhupada disciple who had gone to Kumbh Mela, and he saw this yogi. And that yogi was telling him he traveled all around the world. He's gone to America, he's gone to Europe, he's gone everywhere. And when the devotee asked him, how did you do? So he said, in my own body, because he pretty much had that siddhi of traveling wherever he wanted at his will. So there are people in India, some yogis, who have some of these siddhis. Okay, but it is nothing astonishing. It is just manipulation of material elements of this world. So they are not very different from a materialist who wants to enjoy certain things, right? It's not very different. It's just that he's using some supernatural powers to acquire what he wants. So Prabhupada says, as inquisitive persons tour all over the world to gain some direct local experience, the less intelligent transcendentalist similarly desires to have some experience of those planets which he has heard about. He has heard about some wonderful things in those planets. So to have such experience, he decides to travel to different places. That's what he does. But a yogi, all these, these are all temporary things. These are all things of the material world, and it is only a temporary phenomenon. So why is Papa talking so much about the siddhis? Because it is mentioned here that if a yogi maintains a desire for improved material enjoyments, then he goes to a higher planetary system where all these mystic eightfold perfections are available in plenty. So that's what Prabhupada is describing here in the planetary system. the inhabitants, they have all these different cities. They don't need any mechanical help even to go from one planet to the other. So if you're inquisitive to know about some planet, you can go there in your self-same body. You can go, you can acquire all the experiences and you can come back. You can fulfill whatever desire you want in at any point in time. But however, all this is all temporary. That's why it's called as a gradual liberation. You're just still stuck in this material world. You're just going from one planet to the other. A devotee doesn't want to be all this. A devotee is not desiring for all this. A devotee doesn't want to be artificially the controller of anything. All that he wants to be with Krishna. He wants to be with God. He wants to enter the kingdom of God. So our senses, instead of being engaged in acquiring siddhis, our senses require real engagements. And what is the real engagement that our senses require? The real engagement that our senses require is the loving service of the Lord. If we do a simple thing, engage our senses in the service of the Lord, there is no need for us to go through all this karma mukti and whatnot. We can just get liberated immediately and get rid of all our material contaminated infections. Okay, so what we saw so far, I'll just come and then I'll take those Gopi Mataji's question. What happened so far is that we have seen in the previous chapter about the person who is a neophyte yogi and his Dharanashraya is the Virata Rupa. Then we saw about the advanced yogi. Then Shukdev Goswami spoke about the people who are enjoying in this world, and he says that is a waste of time. Then he talks about the yogi who's slightly more advanced, who's desiring to see the super soul in the heart. Then he spoke about how a yogi who is going through this process, when he decides to give up his life, how he gives up his life by raising the life air through different chakras, and finally through the cerebral chakra, the life air is released and he goes to the highest destination. Okay. Now he's spoken about that. But then he comes back to the point about those yogis who still have so many material attractions and they don't know how to go about this process. So these people, they go to higher planetary systems where the siddhas are there. So here the word used is Vaihayasanam, the beings known as the Vaihayasa. Vaihayasa means one who moves in the air is called as Vaihayasa. Actually, there is one personality's airplane that is called as Vaihayasa. Anyone knows who that is? Like we know, Pushpaka Vimana was the airplane of Kuvera. There was one more personality in the Bhagavatam who had an airplane, and his airplane is called as Vaihayasa. Anyone wants to guess? Huh?
Kardama.
Kardama, no. Kardama Maharishi's flying palace. I don't know what name it had.
So he's not Kardamuni?
It's there in Bhagavatam. It is Bali Maharaj. Bali Maharaj's airplane. The literal meaning of Vaihayasam is mean that which moves in the air. That's all. It's just an airplane. That's all. But his airplane is also called as Vaihayasam. So anyway, this is what is mentioned here. So these siddhis, the Siddha Purushas in the higher planetary system, they are called as Vaihayasanam, meaning they are to move freely in the air wherever they want. They don't need an airplane. Actually, that was then the word to word. So I just wanted to bring that up. And they have Ashta Adhipatyam. That means they have the eightfold mystic achievements. And this is what they have. And they're freely moving from one place to the other. Fathers, don't waste your time with all of that because it's going to take many, many years, many, many centuries to achieve all this. And still you're stuck in the material world. You can rather just take to Krishna consciousness, engage your senses in the service of the Lord and go back to Godhead at one shot. Okay. So basically, Tulsi Gopi Mataji, you can ask a question because the next verse is going to discuss a little bit. It's going to go back to the a person who's meditating on the Virata Rupa. So if you want to ask your question, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji. I was wondering, like, when you have those siddhis to become lightest or most anu, tiny, and all that, but such a person cannot still, I guess, uh, go, what do you call, pierce through the Brahmanda coverings and go to Viraja river and go to spiritual world, right? Like, it's not possible, even if he has those powers to go through, become invisible and go like that and get rid of his body or anything like that, right?
No. That's why Prabhupada says, I mean, like they have certain capabilities, but they are restricted to certain locations in this material world. It's not like they can pierce through and go back to them.
Okay.
It's still a mechanical process, no?
Yes. Basically, they haven't gotten rid of material desires. Therefore, that's like
They're
the,
not going to leave this world here.
because I guess that's one of the criteria that you have to give up all material desires, then only you can. Okay,
Yeah.
Mataji. Okay.
Yeah.
Nishtha wanted to read the next verse.
Sure. Text number 23. योगेश्वराणां गतिराहुरन्तर्बहिस्त्रिलोक्या पवनातरात्मनां कर्मभिः साङ्गतिमाप्नुवन्ति योगदिभाजम्. Nishtha, go ahead.
Translation. The transcendentalists are concerned with the spiritual body. As such, by the strength of their devotional service, austerities, mystic powers, and transcendental knowledge, their movements are unrestricted within and beyond the material worlds. The fruitive workers or the gross materialists can never move in such an unrestricted manner. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, this is an answer to your mother's question. Your mother just brought it up.
Wow. Krishna is just arranging. This happens so many times actually that you have something in Bhagavatam just answers it.
And for you, it's like instant noodles. It comes up immediately. Very nice. Thank you. So that just shows how tuned you are to Bhagavatam. Sometimes when you're very tuned to something, you start thinking about it, and immediately the answers are revealed in Bhagavatam. So it just shows how much tuned you are to Srimad Bhagavatam. So yes, this is the answer. And Prabhupada, he says in the purport, there are many materialistic scientists who have all these different rover, what is all that? Spacecrafts. Spacecrafts, they use mechanical means to go to different planets. But really, you cannot truly enter and experience higher planetary systems without proper authority, proper quote unquote passport for that planet. And even these Siddha Purushas who are moving about very freely in higher planetary systems, they appear to be unrestricted, but then there is a restriction. They cannot leave this material universe. But the devotees, they are the true unrestricted space. And Prabhupada quotes the example of Narada Muni. So he says, Narada Muni is one of the examples of the spaceman, and Durvasa Muni is an example of the mystic. By the strength of devotional service, austerities, mystic powers, and transcendental knowledge, everyone can move like Narada Muni or Durvasa Muni. Okay, it is said that Durvasa Muni traveled throughout the entirety of material space and a part of spiritual space in a year only. The speed of the transcendentalists can never be attained by the gross or subtle materialists. So, why it is mentioned here, Durvas also went to the part because he did see Vishnu, and Vishnu said that you have to go and beg offenses from Ambarish Maharaj. But again, remember, just like how we don't know if this specific, I can actually do a reference. I can check with Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur's purport because I brought it up. I can check that and with Prabhupada's purports also, whether Durvas really pierced the coverings or he went to one of the abodes of Vishnu within this universe. But even if there is an abode of Vishnu within the universe, still it is considered a spiritual world because Vishnu is there. Okay. So it could be just that within this universe, traversing and he saw one of the abodes of Vishnu, and then Vishnu told him, no, you have to go and beg forgiveness from Ambarish Maharaj.
Mataji, I had a quick question that Chitraketu, when he was flying across in a liberated state, yeah, he was liberated and he was flying across the spiritual and material sky, but still he unfortunately, I guess, got trapped in the curse. So if you're liberated also, it's not necessarily with the siddhis that you're still immune, right? Somehow, if you come to the material world flying around, then and you make a mistake, you can still, I guess.
Yeah, the modes of material nature are still acting on us. Yes. Yeah. You can, you're not fully liberated. See, yes, he attained so much. He saw even Shankarsana, right, in this meditation and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not at a point where he actually left the material universe. He was still in the higher planetary system.
Okay.
Yeah. And still you can be affected by the modes of material nature. Yes, Mataji, it's so complicated.
Yeah, because I remember in the purports it was mentioned that he was liberated, and for millions of years he was in the verses. It's mentioned for millions of years he was happily, blissfully moving freely. But it doesn't mean that he was liberated from the Brahmanda. He was still within.
Yes, within Brahmanda. Yes, Mataji.
Okay, thank you, Mataji.
Rupal Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Just a random question. King Indradyumna, the one who made a Jagannath temple in Puri, he also traveled the spiritual space? Did he travel spiritual space?
I don't know which part of the story that is.
Okay, Mataji, it was a random question. Thank you.
Huh?
No, it was a random question I saw somewhere.
Oh, you saw some. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know where exactly he traveled. So I don't remember the story correctly. I don't know where he traveled, Mataji. I don't know. He was traveling. I don't know. I don't want to guess because I don't know the story properly. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll find out and send you.
Oh, okay. Okay, Mataji. वैश्वानराणां याति विहाय सागति सुषुम्य ब्रह्मापतेन शोचिता विधूतकल्को अत हरेरुदस्यस्ति प्रयति चक्रं नृपशशी उमारम्. Anyone translation?
I can read, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. O king, when such a mystic passes over the Milky Way by the illuminating Sushumna to reach the highest planet Brahmalok, he goes first to Vaishvanar, the planet of the deity of fire, wherein he becomes completely cleansed of all contaminations. And thereafter he still goes higher to the circle of Shishumara to relate with Lord Hari, the personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna.
So this is the path that is mentioned for this mystic who's passing different planetary systems. It is mentioned that the first stop of such a person is the Vaishvanara Loka. Vaishvanara, you all know what Vaishvanara is. Vaishvanara is Agni, right? Aham Vaishvanaro Bhutva Pranaya Samrutva Pachanti Annam Chaturvidham. Is that correct, that verse? So Vaishvanaram is the Jataragni, right? We talk about Jataragni. But Vaishvanara in general is Agni. So the first stop goes to the planet of Vaishvanara Loka, where the deity of fire is there. And this is about the yogi, okay, who's trying to attain perfection. So we are going back to the yogi who, and which kind of yogi are we going back to? We are going back to the yogi who did the Virat Rupa meditation. So in this chapter, touching upon different kinds of yogis, so don't get confused. Please use Subhodhini if you're confused, because Subhodhini has given all the links and it helps you understand the flow of the chapter correctly. Even I'm taking help of Subhodhini and I'm telling. And of course, Subhodhini comes from also Chakravarti Pad's connections that he gives in the commentaries. That's how it is coming out. Okay. So this particular verse is the yogi who is a Virat Rupa meditator, who is endowed with different qualities like Vidya, Tapa, Yoga, and Jnana. He does not attain the various planets, higher planets, due to his karmas, like the karmis. Karmis, they attain higher planetary system because of the karma that they have practiced. Okay, but the yogi, okay, though he is a little attached, we said that he's attached in the previous verse also. He has some attachment, he desires to enjoy, so he attains siddhic perfections and he's roaming around in higher planetary systems. We saw that, right? So though he may enjoy, at the same time, we should understand that his enjoyment is not like the enjoyment of the karmis. This yogi, actually, he's a Virat Rupa meditator. Okay, the one who's going to higher planets. He's a Virat Rupa meditator and he's endowed with very good qualities. Don't think that he's like an ordinary. What are the good qualities he has? He has Vidya, he has Tapa, Yoga, Jnana, all these good qualities. And because of these qualities, he's going to higher planetary systems, and it is not due to like how the karmis are attaining planetary systems. So now in his journey, as he's progressing higher and higher, what is the path of the yogi that is mentioned here? So what is his path? The first stop, he goes to Vaishvanara Loka. Here, the planet of the deity of fire is there, and there he gets cleansed of his desire. The second stop is the Sishumara constellation that you see in the sky, and that is also called as the navel of Vishnu or the pivot of the universe. That's where you see Dhruvatara, right? So that area. And there he relates with Lord Hari because that is the abode of Kshirodakashayi Vishnu. Then the third stop, because he has to go higher and higher. Now, above this region is Harloka. Okay, if you see in the 14 planetary systems, if you see the vertical spacing of the 14 planetary systems, you will see above this comes the Maharloka. Above the Dhruva star, the Sishumara, where the Dhruva Tara is situated. Beyond that is the Maharloka. He goes there and he gets purified. And he sees the purified sages like Bhrigu who live there for one Mahakalpa. He sees that the three worlds are burning in fire from the mouth of Ananta at the end of Brahma's life. Because at the end of Brahma's life, what happened? The lower planetary systems are all devastated. Only at the end of Brahma's life, the entire Brahmanda is devastated, right? So what does he do? Actually, in this verse, it covers only till the circle of Sishumara, but I'm telling what happens next. After he attains Sishumara, he goes to the third stop, which is Maharloka, where he sees sages like Bhrigu and so on. And then he goes to the fourth stop, which is Brahmaloka, which is the abode of where there is no lamentation, no old age, no fear, but however, one feels compassion for suffering non-devotees. This is the highest planet. So once he reaches Brahmaloka, what happens? He decides to stay there till the end of Brahma's life. If he's continuing to have all the good qualities and he is in assistance of Brahma, then along with Brahma, he gets liberated. So it's a very long process. But however, if he desires liberation before that itself, it is mentioned that he can pierce the 7 coverings of the universe and he can go to the Brahma Jyoti. This is about the gradual process of karma mukti or gradual liberation of a. Okay, so far, okay. Everybody, any questions, doubts? Do I need to clarify anything so far?
Hare
Everyone
Krishna,
else?
Mataji, I had a
Yeah.
question that the Shishumar circle, which is the pivot of Lord Vishnu, the
Mm.
universe at Lord Vishnu's body, in Virat Rupa, right? And so above that is Satya Loka and everything, and then he goes to spiritual world. So he, even if it's Kshirodakshai Vishnu's place, but he doesn't have darshan of Kshirodakshai Vishnu,
Yeah,
right?
it is just a level. Yeah, it's not that
Okay.
he's having. You're right.
Okay, thank you, Mataji.
Just the level of advancement, step by step, he's progressing. That's what is mentioned. Praladananda Prabhu, please, sir.
Pranam Mataji. I had
Mm.
this question regarding this Parampada. Parampada is actually the Brahma Jyoti. Is that the right understanding regarding Parampada?
Prabhupada in one purport, he says Parampada can mean different things.
Okay.
I tell you what, inside this universe also there is a Vaikunta, okay,
Mhm.
beyond Satyaloka. That is also called as Paramapadam.
Mhm.
So Parampada means the topmost destination. It can mean different things based on context. It can either mean Brahmajyoti or it can mean Vaikunta or it can also mean the Paramapadam within this universe, which is Vishnu's Loka.
About these Gnanis who do not have any element of bhakti,
They go to
they go
Brahmajyoti.
to Brahmajyoti and they do not develop any kind of spiritual body or just remain a spark, as I think you mentioned like that. Spark.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
Now,
that's
the question is, Srila Prabhupada mentions in 10th canto, Brahmaji's prayers, 14th chapter, I think, Aruhya Krachran Param Padam Patanti Yada Anadrut Yushmadamra. So, do they fall back from that Brahmajyoti platform or they don't?
They don't.
They don't, right?
They don't. They don't fall.
Because
They
that's
don't
it.
fall.
In purpose, Srila Prabhupada writes that, they fall down from that because they have neglected doing service to Lord Shri
No.
Krishna.
So this is for those who have thought themselves to be liberated, meaning
Vimuktamaninas.
Muktamanina. Yeah, one who has
Vimuktamaninas, they are called, not the real Jiva
Mukta.
Muktas.
Yeah, Muktamanina. Yes, you're
For
right.
those who are still not liberated in still material world and they think that they're liberated.
Yes.
I see. Oh. All right. Thank you, Ma'am.
So continuing what we were discussing, this translation is a
Mataji,
continuation.
sorry.
Yeah. Okay. So continuing our travel of the person who is a yogi, yet he has attachment, yet he's traveling around in this world having all the siddhis. So his journey we are looking at. We see that first he stops at Vaishwanara Loka, then his second stop is at Sishumara constellation. And then we thought the next 2 stops are Maharloka and Brahmaloka, right? That is mentioned in this verse. So this Sishumara is the pivot of the turning of the complete universe, and it is called as the navel of Vishnu or Garbhodakshay Vishnu. The yogi alone goes beyond the circle of Sishumara and attains the planet of Maharloka, where purified saints like Bhrigu enjoy the duration of life of, I don't know what number this is. I'm very weak in math, so I don't know, 4 trillion, 300 million, I don't know, solar years. This planet is worshipable even for saints who are transcendently situated. So what happened from Vaishwanara? He went to Sishumara, from Sishumara to Maharloka. From there, what happens? He goes to Brahmaloka. That is this verse. At the time of the final devastation of the complete universe, at the end of the duration of Brahma's life, a flame of fire emanates from the mouth of Ananta, from the bottom of the universe, and the yogi sees all the planets of the universe burning into ashes, and thus he leaves for Satyaloka, Brahma's Loka, in airplanes used by the great purified souls. The duration of life in Satyaloka is calculated as 15,480, followed by 9 zeros, whatever that means. Okay. So yes, Rupal Mataji, before we read the purport, you want to ask something?
Sorry, Mataji, what did you say?
You wanted to ask something, right?
Yeah, what was the term who don't fall from the spiritual planet? What was the term you saw? I forgot. We were, like Tulsi Gopi Mataji said the term.
She said Vimukta Manina. Vimukta Manina means he's considering himself to be liberated, to have that.
Vimukta Manina.
So he's
Not one who's
really,
all.
he's not really Jivan Mukta, Vimukta. He's not Jiva Mukta, but he's a Vimukti Manina, Vimukta Maninas. That's what I had in my notes. He's not really
Yes.
Mukta. He's Vimukta Manina.
So they have to come to the birth life cycle, birth and death.
They're already in the cycle, Mataji. They just considered themselves liberated.
Oh, they themselves consider liberated, but they are not. Okay.
Like that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So now we are with the yogi who's in Satyaloka. Okay, good. And this is where I calculated we have to be in. That is good. So now, Prabhupada, the purport, he says about. He says, it is indicated herein that the residents of Maharloka, where the purified living entities or demigods possess a duration of life, is calculated to be whatever that number is, solar years. These
4.3
people,
billion, Mataji.
they... Huh?
4.3 billion. This is billion, Mataji. 4.3
Oh, billion. Okay, thank you. Thank you. I don't know.
And the 15 one is 15.4 trillion years. Satyaloka
Okay.
life.
Thank you. So it's supposed to be 4 billion, 300,000. Okay, thank you, Mataji. Solar years. And yeah, so life is calculated to be this big. And they reach the Satyaloka, they stay with the Brahma. And they stay with Brahma. And at the end of Brahma's life, they also get liberated. But if at all such a person wants to get liberated earlier, then he can, through the process of yoga, he can still pierce through the coverings of the universe and enter the Brahma Jyoti. Okay, this is what is given in this purport, and this is what the commentators have said. So basically, it is a gradual process. It is not a quick process. The easiest process for us is bhakti. All we have to do is hear and chant and then get liberated. But Shukdev Goswami will come back to it. He will tell us that this is the easiest process. Not only is Prabhupada emphasizing that in every purport, but Shukdev Goswami himself will tell, don't go through all this. It's all waste of time. Just go through the process of bhakti. So, yeah. So I think you can just read this purport. It's very simple. There is nothing much in this. Prabhupada just talks about how the Vedic wisdom is accepted by all the acharyas, and all the acharyas have told us about life on various planets and how life is very long in the higher planetary systems. So continuing the description of life in Satyaloka, he says, Na yatra shoko na jara na mrityor न चोद्वेगरते कुतश्चित् यच्चित्ततो अधः कृपया निदम्बिदां दुरन्तदुःखप्रभवानुदर्शनात्. Anyone wants to read translation?
Translation, Jai Srila Prabhupada. In that planet of Satyaloka, there is neither bereavement, nor old age, nor death. There is no pain of any kind, and therefore there are no anxieties, save that sometimes due to consciousness, there is a feeling of compassion for those unaware of the process of devotional service, who are subjected to unsurpassable miseries in the material world.
So there is extreme sense of goodness. Mode of goodness is very high in the upper planetary systems. In Satyaloka, you will see that people just live till the end of the life of Brahma, and they don't have this old age problem, or they don't die prematurely, or whatever. But then when Brahma has to withdraw the entire Brahmanda, they also withdraw. They also go along with the Brahma. So there's no anxiety, there's no fear of death. But then there is an elevated amount of mode of goodness. Because of that, what happens? They have a feeling of compassion for those who are not aware of the process of devotional service. Now, their situation is quite tricky. It's actually glorious that they are aware of the process of devotional service. They know Krishna is everything, and they feel compassion for other living entities. At the same time, imagine their situation. They are very comfortable staying there. They are going to stay there till the end of the life of Brahma. So compared to even the residents in Brahma Loka, we are more fortunate. That is the point. Okay. So again, not to demean their situation, they are great personalities. And also, it is mentioned by our acharyas, if they desire, no, that's it, I really want to get released from this world, it can happen. That is what Chakravarti Pad has written. Generally, they stay till the end of the life of Brahma. That is a general case in Satyaloka. And we read the numbers, billions and trillions. So imagine so many years you're going to stay around. Right? It's not easy. You can rather have one small life on earth, 100 years, 80 years, 70 years, perfect our lives and go back home, back to Godhead. Okay. So Prabhupada, in the poet, he mentions about the importance of acquiring knowledge through Vedic literatures via bona fide authorities. It is very important to get Vedic knowledge through disciplic succession. And Krishna also did this in the Bhagavad Gita. He had affirmed that the system of knowledge explained in the Bhagavad Gita was first explained to the sun god, and then the knowledge was given in disciplic succession to Manu, and from Manu to King Ikshvaku, and so on. But in course of time, this authorized knowledge was broken, and hence he had to re-establish this and give the knowledge again. But this is the power of taking Vedic statements as it is, okay, through the process of disciplic succession. So when all this is given, we take it as it is. We don't try to interpret anything by ourselves. And what is the speciality of the Vedic wisdom? The Vedic wisdom is guiding us to understand our relationship with Krishna and act accordingly so that we can go home back to Godhead. But the materialistic persons, they are not at all interested in this. They want to make their life more and more comfortable here, and they want to reach other planets. Some of them, they are following Vedic rituals and they're going to higher planetary systems and they are becoming very happy and content there. While some others, they are making some mechanical means like taking airships to go to different planets. But whatever these plans that materialistic men make, it is all futile. But if you really have intelligence, one should utilize this human form of life to go home back to Godhead. And especially, we are very, very fortunate. We have a wonderful birth on earth, and we have the shelter of bona fide acharyas, and they have preached enough that returning home back to Godhead is the ultimate aim of life. And we do not have to make arrangements to be falsely happy in this material world. So this is what Prabhupada writes in the purport for those who are going to different planetary systems and so on. Prabhupada says, you don't have to go through this entire ordeal and this endeavor. And finally, I think I'll stop here. Yeah, enough. 29 we'll do later. This is it. He's in Brahma Loka. And then finally, he leaves the Brahma Loka also, and then he attains liberation. He gets liberated along with the Brahma. That is from verse 20-29. And then it talks about how he pierces through the layers of the universe and he goes to the Brahma Jyoti. All that is explained in the next few verses, but we'll stop here. If you have any questions or comments, please add. Yes, Prabhu, please.
Hare Krishna Mataji Anantnam. Thank you so much, Mataji, for so beautiful chairs. This chapter is quite technical, but okay. Mataji,
Yes,
just
sir.
a question. You said that in the Satyaloka, the lifespan is so in billions, trillions, so many numbers. But they want to come to this to finish the business in one life. But why is that so? Because for example, in heaven there is so much enjoyment, they can't even think about Krishna. So won't that applicable to Satyaloka also? They're supposed to
Yeah,
show
it's very
that
binding, Prabhu. I don't think they will come here. Meaning they pray, oh, we want a birth and or whatever. So many higher planetary systems people pray, but still people in Satyaloka will be in Satyaloka only. They won't come here so easily. Of course, they are always in the mode of goodness. Their bodies are very subtle. They are not having all these difficulties like on earth, but they are conditioned by the mode of goodness. Not bad, because at the end of the lifetime of Brahma, they're going to get liberated. And they're, of course, at a very advanced level than us in their consciousness. Yeah, but it's not said that they're going to come down or something.
Hare Krishna. Can I ask a doubt, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Do you hear me? Mataji, I was having I know a fundamental doubt. These people who are just who are really good yogis traveling up to Brahmaloka, living trillions of years, they do know about Bhakti Yoga, right, Mataji? And they do know that you can, by mercy of God and being humble, you can be transported to the God, the Goloka. But then why do they choose this? Is it because they think they want? Is there like this adventurous people who want to do trekking, or what is the idea behind? Is there any mention about all this anywhere, Mataji?
Mataji, in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, there is a very beautiful description of this boy by the name Gopakumara who's traveling through different universes. And he's looking at various practitioners and what they're doing, how they are absorbed in particular sadhana. We see that when he goes to the higher planetary systems, like the Tapaloka and the Satyaloka, Mahajana Tapa Satya, right? So there he sees the four Kumaras and all the associates. What are they doing in the planetary system? They're continuously meditating. In their meditation, they are the four-armed form of Vishnu. And seeing the four-armed form of Vishnu, there is so much absorption. They are so involved and they are very conditioned to be attached to that particular process. And and in their samadhi, they just so many years run by in samadhi.
Okay.
So yeah, so that's how I mean, like there are so many different paths. We are taking with our lifetime, we are taking very, especially being born in the age of Kali with the mercy of Mahaprabhu, right? So our case is very unique with the mercy of Prabhupada. Yeah, who
But
can
for
be more
Prabhupada, we are
fortunate?
nowhere, Mataji. Yes, Mataji. I just say.
Exactly,
But you see, a
and
layman like me also can think of all these things is because of his purpose
mm,
and classes that you all give. We constantly engage our thought process in that area, focused.
correct,
Otherwise, we'll get distracted and we may not know anything for sure.
correct, very true, very, very true.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you.
So,
Dandavat.
and yeah, I just imagine how fortunate we are. Actually, everybody will be discussing about us only, our generation only, how fortunate these people on earth, especially who came after the advent of Srila Prabhupada. How fortunate are they? Right? All history, I mean, future historians,
We'll talk about
future
it.
Puranas will talk about
Yes, yes,
us.
yes, Mataji. We are into that. ISKCON will definitely get that recognition, and we, being the devotees here, are most
Yes,
fortunate. Hare Krishna.
very,
And
very
that too, the
true.
advent of technology. I can hear you from
Yeah,
this area to the area where
yeah.
normally people cannot imagine, and we have used the technology for the right purpose also, Mataji.
Right
So
purpose, yeah.
yes, yes. Hare Krishna.
Even
And we are going to use it even better, I think, with AI. The children are being enriched with the rhymes and stories in a better way, and as I think this moving towards a nice way. A lot of good things are happening now. That's with the technology.
yeah.
Also, we should thank
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Definitely, Mataji, definitely. I would say we are more
Today we are
fortunate
conducting
than.
Bhakti Viksha classes so easily, Mataji, with all these technology.
Mm,
We have a lot of children coming in because summer camps are more exciting. No more the Esther technologies. Today technology is much better. So that's also very interesting, Mataji. That's also.
right,
Thank you, Mataji.
right. Yeah, we are more fortunate than eventual process
No, they are
because
way more fortunate. Yeah, they don't have to go behind books.
yeah,
Everything is available. Click of a thing in themselves, and they can learn. And they are all their IQ is also extraordinary, Mataji. There's no doubt. Beyond doubt, their IQ is very good. They can quickly grasp things much faster than what we did. And they're using it for the right purpose. That's what ISKCON is helping all over the world, I think. So we're working hard to make children also in that line. So the children, like we have a nice child reading and constantly hearing these courses. Naturally, she's much more enriched than any one of us. So we are all happy for that. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you.
Dhamma Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, regarding this residents of Brahmlok, there is this slok Bhagavad Gita says 8.16. It says, Abrahma bhuvna loka unar avtarino Arjuna. So there, in that purpose, Srila Prabhupada writes, it's in the middle of the there. The practice of sacrifice called Panchagni Vidya, recommended in Chandogya Upanishad, enables one to achieve Brahmalok, but if on Brahmalok one does not cultivate Krishna consciousness, then he must return to earth. So those who progress in Krishna consciousness on the higher planets are gradually elevated to higher and higher planets. That is the Kram Mukti we talk. And then at the end, at the time of the universal devastations, are transferred to the eternal spiritual kingdom. So the element of bhakti also prevails at the level of Satyalok, those who are residents of Satyalok. If those who have not developed Krishna consciousness, even on Satyalok, they have to come and take birth again. They cannot get liberated along with Brahma. Only those bhakti yogis, they can go like that. So that was the explanation given here. I just wanted to share that.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. That is so important. Thank you for sharing. And like Mukti, I kept saying Karma Mukti. I apologize for that. It is Karma Mukti. That is in order, Mukti in a gradual order. Yeah. Thank you for that too, Prabhu. Yeah. Yes, Tulsi Gopi Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, I was just remembering about this discussion of the Siddhis, that our best example is Hanumanji, who has all the Ashtasiddhis, and he's also Ashtasiddhi Navnidhi ke Data. He can also grant that, but still he's spending his time chanting Ram Nam and only hearing Ram Katha wherever, as long as the world is going on. So if he has all that and he's still using his time this way, then we have that example that's what we should aspire. And all these people who are doing other processes, they are distracted. And I can understand in some ways, if you think about Padmini Mataji's question, that the people on higher planets, they don't have the disturbance and distractions, and they may have a happy life. Means above, I'm talking about people above Swargalok who are not into sense enjoyment, but they have other higher happinesses. There is a fear that if I go on earth, there is higher modes of passion and ignorance here. So it's not easy to decide that, oh, in 80 years, 100 years, I can go back home, because you could even fall down. There is so much disease, so much distraction, how much other modes. So due to bad association in Kali Yuga especially. So look about all of us who have migrated out of India. Like we know India is a holy land and everything, but sometimes we need immediate relief from so many problems. So let's say whatever, crowd, pollution, corruption, bribery, working long hours and getting paid less. So we also decided to leave India and come to US, right? So why would we think, are we able to think, let me go back to Holy Land in India and die? Although we know in theory, same way with those people on higher planets, they can peacefully they have better bodies, there is less disturbance, they think that they can peacefully do bhajan there. Like the Mahar, Janas, Tapa, Satya, they are doing tapasya and they are doing meditation. So we can think from that terms that yes, although they see now that Lord Chaitanya's mercy is going on, it's not an easy decision. Just like I cannot easily move back to India, whereas it's not change of planets, it's only a one flight. So I'm just in that perspective.
Yeah, 100% very beautiful example. Mataji, practical also, very practically you spoke. Yeah.
Thank you so much,
Very
Mataji.
nice.
Thank you, everyone.
Very nice. Sometimes, yeah, you spoke about things like pollution and all. Sometimes I question myself, will I be able to practice bhakti freely well? Yeah. So,
Yes, Mataji, I'm always contemplating that, okay, if I retire also, where will I do? When I try going here, there also, probably I might U-turn, and I've seen a lot of devotees. They are like, I'm going to buy a house there and doing everything, give up everything, looking at the dirt, corruption, quality of bad properties that can collapse, illegal properties in Vrindavan or wherever, and they come back and like, I will serve Prabhupada's ISKCON, I will continue. I don't want to retire. If my Guru Maharaj didn't retire, why should I retire and think of I'm not so advanced? And they come back and continue their service in the movement. So probably this could be most of us doing. Like, let's purify ourselves wherever we are. Holy name is only our hope. This place and that place is not a practical thing in Kali Yuga.
That's true. I agree. Thank you, Mataji. Sunil Prabhu.
Thank you so much, Tulsi Mataji, for wonderful insights, so helpful. Mata, just a question I always heard, and you also said we are so fortunate, so fortunate. But in exactly what way fortunate? Because Srila Prabodhana Saraswati Thakur says, Vanchi told me, if I could have born when Mahaprabhu was dead, I could have easily got Krishna Prem, even if I have not seen Mahaprabhu. Let's say even if I see one associate, I could have got Krishna Pen. Okay, even if not any associate. If let's say I was Dev and Mahaprabhu was Dev, there was Vasudeva that he has spared. And by power of his praise, we would have gone so easily. But now so much sadhana and so many stage and Antanevate, Nishta, Vochi, it's a mess.
So, Prabhu, when Prabodhananda Saraswati is praying, he's praying out of that intense desire to see Mahaprabhu, out of love for Mahaprabhu. But in our case, Prabhu, we are seeing a direct associate of Mahaprabhu. If we have not seen, at least we have his entire life and soul in his books, who's Srila Prabhupada. And we are seeing so many associates of Mahaprabhu who are living amidst us, like the great sannyasis who are present today. And actually, we have all of it. We have all of it. Only thing is, we are not willing to see it that way. So, yes, when Prabodhananda Saraswati Thakur wrote it, he wrote it out of intense love and affection for the one he loved so much, who was Mahaprabhu. But we cannot discount our great fortune simply because all these associates of Mahaprabhu are present in flesh and body in front of us, actually. Only thing is, we are not ready to recognize them as being the associate of Mahaprabhu, like the great sannyasis. You know who they are. And yeah, and just imagine who can be more fortunate than accessing the work of Srila Prabhupada. He has done such a humongous work. When we say Vedas are Shabda Brahman, I mean, we say that when the Lord, His name, His paraphernalia, they're all non-different. So this work of Srila Prabhupada is non-different from Srila Prabhupada. It is his entire life contribution. And he's presented everything to us. So every day we are in touch with Srila Prabhupada. Every day we are in touch with Sri Krishna. We are in touch with Mahaprabhu through the words of the scriptures. What more do we need, Prabhu?
Yes,
We
Mataji.
are fortunate.
Beyond all that he has given us that do these things and I will take you back. Who gives you that, Mataji? Who can tell us that? I will take
Can
you
tell.
back to God. That is the ultimate thing. We have to only follow his instructions.
Yeah.
We are all very happy now, Mataji. That is what is ultimate about Prabhupada. We follow his instructions and have faith in his statement, and then that is, I think, as easy as that to go to God.
There was a
Not
that said,
from
who is
Mataji.
most merciful? Yeah.
Just wanted to
add a little bit of what Tulsi Mataji was saying. See, I personally, I am 72, and I have left only few years, maybe whatever left like that. And I had this dilemma whether I should leave body here in US or leave body in Vrindavan. I was talking to Kanai Krishnadas Prabhuji to buy land or stay there the rest of my life there. So I came to this conclusion that uh, if I stay in Vrindavan or Govardhan and I keep on thinking about my family here in Las Vegas, then my consciousness is not Krishna consciousness. But if I'm staying here, doing sadhu sang, doing satsang, keeping myself busy in Krishna consciousness, then it will have some. Well, Bhagavan Krishna says, "Antakala mameva smaran muktva kalevaram." So if if I can stay wherever in this world, but keep my consciousness in Krishna by reading, chanting, everything, and putting as much time as I could in in Krishna consciousness by distributing books and so many things. So that could help me in achieving, the goal of getting Krishna's association like that. So this is what I was thinking, and then I have formed a last wishes. There's a form on the internet. You can put down for that like that. Like in my mother's case, she was passing away, and I was in time later when she passed away. We had a very high kind of Krishna kirtan. I had just flown from here and reached in time before she left her body. So what I'm saying is that, I have a desire. I've told my sons also that, don't do anything. If I leave the body, just chant Hare Krishna loudly. That's all. This is my desire like that. So ultimately, it is the consciousness which matters. This is what is my sharing instead of the place which we might like that. If we can do sadhu sang here, like we are doing all the time, so that can help. I just wanted to share that, Mata. Hari.
Thank you so much, Rob. That's also it all comes down to consciousness. Yeah, even if we are there at the time of Krishna and Mahaprabhu, and if we don't recognize them as the Supreme Lord, what is the use of us being there at that time, right? Yeah. Yes, Sunil Prabhu.
Krishna Mata, just I want to confirm, you have said that many sannyasis are present, just we have to recognize them. Is it applicable to, if let's say if we were at the time when Mahaprabhu's associates were there, because Prabhupada Saraswati, Vice and Chaitanya Chandramita read it, if even we saw one associate, we would get Krishna Prem. Now, for example, say here we are seeing the sannyasis, I saw them, but I am not getting it. So how do I understand that?
Even
Is
if you
there
had
any
seen the associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at the presence of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu during that time also, you wouldn't have got. I'm not saying you, we wouldn't have gotten Krishna Prema. You know why? It is how you see. Just now, Praladananda Prabhu was talking about the intensity, the consciousness. That story of hearing Bhagavatam, that Dunduli Dundukari story is there, right? That ghost also heard Bhagavatam. Everybody also heard Bhagavatam. Only the ghost got liberated. Why?
intensity?
Yeah, intensity with what consciousness you're hearing, with what consciousness you're listening, that matters. Even if you see Krishna face to face, Duryodhan could have gotten liberated. Why he didn't get liberated? Why Ramchandra Puri, who was there in the presence of Mahaprabhu, who was a senior of Mahaprabhu, why he had to undergo so much fall, from his devotion in the presence of Mahaprabhu, right? So, yeah, we have to think. It's not just about mere physical seeing, it's much more than that.
Yes, Mataji, but why are there such statements like even if you see once, it seems so
Yeah, you
contradictory.
should see with the right then you'll see how much everybody reads Bhagavatam, only very few people are enjoying it and having so many realizations from Bhagavatam, relishing Bhagavatam, craving for Bhagavatam. Why? Because it's their interest and intensity, with what eyes they are seeing it. Chakravarti Pad says Bhagavatam can be Mohini Murti for some. Bhagavatam can be like a lamb, Bhagavatam can be like the sun. So, yeah, it depends on the reader.
Thank you so much.
Shyam Gopal Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji. So Thank you for the class.
Mhm.
So many things new which I learned in this class. So this Prahladananda Prabhu, which they shared, it was really very good sharing. And I just wanted to share one thing which I went to New Vrindavan in February, and
Mhm.
I was talking to one person who was in Vrindavan for I think more than 30 years. And I asked him like, how, Miss, you must be very lucky, right? Miss, you live in New Vrindavan, not New Vrindavan, not Vrindavan in India, and you live near Radhakunda. So you must be very fortunate, right? Because you are getting, this the highest pilgrimage site you can be. And so he said, no, no, that's not the way I look at it. Because here I am here, but I don't go to Radhakunda every day, right? But when you are there in, say, wherever you are, say you are in Bombay or USA, so you always in that, always thinking of Vrindavan, right? So it is more like a gopis who are thinking of Krishna when he was not in Mathura, right?
Right.
So that rasa is much, because there you remember like day and night, right? See, there is,
Yeah.
you get up and you think, oh, Krishna is not there, and you are while and you are crying and miss, not you miss, we are not crying, but the gopis were crying day and night, like, and they were just thinking of Krishna, and they were not, they did not had any rust in any other life activities.
Right.
So that actually he says it is better for you to live in wherever you are and think of
Mhm.
Vrindavan than living in Vrindavan and thinking of, you know,
Something
hey, I
else,
want to go
yes.
to like, New Jersey or whatever, New York or somewhere. So that is the best. And I
Very
think,
good.
and there is one more thing I wanted to share. So this people living their body, the life airs through the the
Mhm.
hair on the top of the head, which is a soft part, right? So
Mhm.
I had read, I used to, I had read somewhere that some
Mhm.
people who were more of a brahmanas, right? When their old people they died, they used to like actually break their head on the top just to show that he left his body through, and they used to take out some blood, some blood coming out to just show people that they left their body, and we are such a high level of devotees. So people resort to those kind of artificial things as a show off. So
Correct.
what you said is correct, that we should not try those things, because wherever the
Mhm.
life goes, from the upper body or lower body, it doesn't matter. If you are conscious enough to be to Krishna, maybe next life you can't complete this life, you will be again human and complete that, whatever the leftover work is, right? Hare Krishna.
Very nice, Prabhu. Thank you for adding. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. Thank you so much. Yeah. Sunil Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, sorry, Mata, just the last question. Mataji, whenever any acharya, so any Srimad Bhagavatam, any book describes the glories of the Lord, why they don't add star mark that you have to be attentive, you have this mode. Unnecessarily, they will give all the benefits, and if we don't get it, we think it is arthavadka that will lead to committing the offense. Why they don't tell us that all these things? They will just tell one part of the glories, that's it.
Yeah, what will later?
Means, for example, you say no, there are many shlokas. Even if you hear Shrimad Bhagavatam one word, you will get mukti. But again, as you said, like many mukti. So why they don't tell you when they are describing the glories, like adding star mark? Because
That's why we
if
have
they,
commentaries.
yes, Mataji.
That's why we have acharyas and commentaries, Prabhu. They tell us. That's why we have classes. Prabhu, this is Kavya, Purana Kavya. They have a license of what do you say, telling things, but they don't have to explain it in detail. That's why we have commentaries, we have purports to explain everything. Okay.
Yes, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Very good. Okay, we'll end here, and I think it's time for everyone to go to bed. So we'll end here and then we'll meet tomorrow. Not tomorrow, sorry. What am I telling? Today's Tuesday. Okay, we'll meet on Thursday. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyo vacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavabhyo namo namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnavavrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Glories to the assembled devotees. Hari Bol, Hari Bol.